Welcome to the Wednesday, January 15th edition of the Parallax EduChat. This is an informal meetup between Parallax and educators where you can join by Zoom or watch the recording later on YouTube. With you today are me, Andy Lindsay, and our senior software engineer, Jeff Martin. We'll be talking about the new Make Code tutorials that we have just released for the Cyberbot, as well as our learn.parallax.com site update and tips for updating your teaching materials for the new site. We've also updated for the Microbit Python editor v3, and we're also working on some improvements to courses. We'll show you little bits of each of those. And last but not least, we'll talk about upcoming events. So first and foremost, the Cyberbot block programming tutorials are something that we have an entire set of lessons for you to go through that match the Python lessons. And so I have an example up here where we'll take a look at the lessons, starting with simply going, if you go to Cyberbot, what you'll see now is an option for the Python tutorial series and an option for the Make Code tutorial series. And so since I have, I've already opened some of the tabs, but basically if you open up, say, the Make Code tutorial series and then open up the Python tutorial series, see if I can get that on the right. Okay, so here on the left is the
original Python-based series.
Thank you, Jeff. And then here is the Make Code series. And the big deal is that essentially all of the material, well, almost all of the material, I should say.
Everything that applies.
Yeah, has been duplicated in a Make Code version. So there's the scripting lessons up here in prerequisites. And then we have all of the, or the majority of the Cyberbot and cybersecurity lessons, along with the projects you might be familiar with as well. So the majority of it has been ported, and I would expect to see even more tiles appearing with various chapters soon. And so as an example here, if we take a look at navigation, with the Cyberbot in the Python and Make Code version, what I'm going to do is move to the forward and backward lesson. And you'll notice that there will be some slight differences, but by and large, and I'm going to talk about some of these differences because they have to do with material updates that will, so you should see these updates soon on this side as well. But these scripts are basically the same. So for example, we have a forward 3 seconds script here in the Python lessons, and we have a forward 3 second script here in the Make Code lessons. And we'll, what I'd like to do next is just a quick demo of both of those. And so looking at the forward 3 seconds lesson, here on the left, I've set it up in Make Code. And we can go ahead and download it to our Cyberbot. And then after plugging in power, the forward 3 seconds executes just as the script shows. And I'd like to point out that you need a Cyberbot plugin for this. And to get that, let's just demonstrate. And this is all in the tutorials as well. But
That's right. I think
if
they're
you
called extensions.
Oh, thank you. Extensions. So there are extensions in MakeCode and then modules in the Python world. And the extensions, you can add an extension right here. And then you can usually just search for Cyberbot. And then here is the Cyberbot MakeCode extension. And you can follow that link and then add the extension.
And you only have to do that once.
Yes.
At the start of your
programming session. Yeah. And then once you've done that, you've got the Cyberbot, all the Cyberbot blocks will appear. And then you can drag and drop them onto the canvas and adjust your code according to the tutorials, or to create some cool robotics project. Just to show that that it's equivalent, here is the script from the Python tutorial. Now, the changes I have made is just to get the Cyberbot to go very slowly forward, so that it will appear under the document camera. And
this one is also going to turn right.
Oh, that's right. I had a earlier version. So here is the actual forward 3 seconds version. And during demonstrations, one thing I like to do when I'm on Zoom is keep a separate microbit that's ready for Python scripts, because it takes about 20 seconds for a microbit to be switched over from being ready to run Python to being ready to run MakeCode, and vice versa. The programming does it automatically. So, like, for example, if I loaded a script from here right now into this microbit that's ready for a Python script, it would just make us wait for, say, 20 seconds before it finished loading the program. And so here is the Python version. And same basic behavior. And then we can adjust the speeds a little bit. For example, the wheel speed is a little bit slower right here. And if I were to change it to 30 and try again, might make it curve the other direction. But in this case, it mostly straightened out the travel.
Nice.
Next up, we'll talk about the learn.parallax.com migration. What we did over holiday break was took out the, well, Jeff, would you like to talk about that part?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been really busy over, I'd say it was about the last 6 months, actually migrating our Learn site from one server to another, and replacing the technology, the underlying technologies that support it, all with the intent to allow us to move forward with, give us better maintenance abilities. while at the same time keeping the interface that you and your students see as close as possible to what Learn has looked like for the last couple of years. So for most cases, menus will appear the same or very similar. And most of the changes are down at the navigation level when you're inside of a course or set of lessons.
Yeah, so for example, with the Cyberbot, um, for the most part, uh, we want changes to be difficult to see. So, or we want it to be the same for you to navigate, for you and your students to navigate through. And so in general, the front page, the home page looks the same. And then when you follow various links, you're still going to get to the familiar set of tiles, each containing a chapter with activities. And so one of the differences is that with Cyberbot now, we have the Python and the make code versions. But once you follow the tile through, again, you'll find that things look very familiar. The main difference to be aware of is that when you go into one of these tiles, and I like to call these chapters in a book, instead of having the navigation all on the left, right up front, you have to click, we have the introduction page, and then you have to click continue to get to the part where you can navigate through the chapter. And then it's mostly similar to the Learn site, although the labels are a little bit larger here. And you'll notice some differences in indentation as well.
Yes, other than that, everything should be the same as what you're used to. Now, there are some cases where you might have saved links to lessons or courses or activities that you're interested in for future classes. We are doing our best to make those old links work. But if you find that you try a link and it says that it's broken, that page doesn't exist, we have some tips for you to find those in the future. And I think that's what Andy is showing here.
Yeah, so this is the next topic. We've got just a little tip on how to update your course materials. Here is an example where you might try to follow a link to the old site, and we're doing everything we can to update this. Jeff, I don't know if you like to talk about what happens behind the scene when this kind of error occurs.
Yes, when this happens, there's actually a log that's kept on the server, and I go through it every week looking for pages that returned nothing or this page not found message. And I try to determine if there's a way that we can automatically redirect that to the intended target. So going forward, these old links, more and more of these old links should work. But for right now, the best scenario is that you try them out, a few days ahead of your class, and update your links in your materials. I think Andy's going to show you how to do or how to find the actual target page via our search engine, because our search engine on the Learn site is very much improved compared to what it was on the previous server. So for example, he's typing in get started with.
So here is get started with microbit and make code, and here is get started with microbit and Python. And so if I wanted to update my link here in the slides, I would simply take this well, I'd want to verify that this is the slide I intended to go to, or the page I intended to go to, and it is indeed. And then we can simply take the hyperlink and update the slide accordingly. So you'll want to do that with any handouts that the students are following. Or
And if you are ideally a couple of days ahead of your class and finding that there's links that you can't find the target page for, you could send a list of them to us at education@parallax.com, and I'd be happy to go through, or Andy go through and try to update those for you and provide you new links.
So yes, please reach out to us if you can provide a list of links you need updated. We'll see what we can do.
And that also helps us determine what are the most popular currently broken links that we need to fix in our redirection engine.
So next up, we've been making some updates to the site to work with the version 3 of the microbit Python editor. And so this is to let you know that all pages in the Python tutorials have been updated so that you'll be able to follow instructions for the version 3 editor. I think for at least the previous semester, most students have been working with the version 3 editor to begin with. If we go to the Python version of the Cyberbot series, what you'll see is the updated Get Started with the Microbit, which has been there for a while now. And what I want to point out is, for those of you who prefer to continue using the version 2, we have a link down here for you that you can go to the version 2 setup. And then, of course, this is for the version 3. And so when you go, or when students go into the tutorial here, they will be able to follow the Get Started examples, and there's a video and then checklist instructions that guide through the same steps that the video demonstrates. And so that'll get them off to a strong start. And after that, what they'll see as they go through and are in, say, maybe the strings and characters primer chapter, is that on the first use of the editor, which happens to be in first string in this tutorial, they'll see that the link will take them to the version 3 editor. And then there's reminders that point back to the Getting Started tutorials for each crucial step. The students will have links to the microbit Python editor, the version 3, and then the instructions, they'll have refresher links to go back. So for example, if they need a refresher on how to flash the script into the microbit, they can refer back to this. So that's on the first use in any given chapter. After that, we're going to assume that the students have basically got that figured out, but all the nomenclature is also updated to the version 3 microbit Python editor. Okay, so next up, let's talk about some of the other updates that are happening in the tutorials. So if we go to learn.parallax.com, Cyberbot, and then in the Python version of the navigation with the Cyberbot, one of the things that we're doing is updating key pieces to make sure that the students can pick some of the concepts up and be ready to use them in later chapters. So, for example, some of the things that are new here are a little explanation of how wheel speed, what each number in bot of 18 dot servo underscore speed 65 does and how it affects the speed of the wheel that is connected to P18 in this case on the Cyberbot board, which is right about there. It also explains that which argument affects which side of the Cyberbot in terms of wheel speed, and then how the positive numbers are forward on the left and the negative numbers are backward, but on the right, the negative numbers are forward and the positive numbers are backward. So if we have a plus 65 and a negative 65, that's something that will make us go forward at roughly 65 115ths of full speed. And so that these are little updates that we're making, and I'm pretty confident that these will also end up appearing in not too long in the MakeCode versions of the lessons.
That looks great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's it takes a bit of work to get a oh yeah, and then another thing is that we've added a little section on straightening out the path of the Cyberbot, and that is actually in the same lesson. Where did that go? Here we are. And so after we talk about the forward and backward, we have a section where the students work to come up with their special numbers to get their Cyberbot to go perfectly straight forward and perfectly straight backward. And then they get to experiment with a little bit, recording certain servo speeds and directions for navigation purposes for getting more familiar with it. And so those are improvements that we're working on behind the scenes. So you will see some minor changes in some of the lessons. For upcoming events, we have an email that just went out today. We have a 2-hour microbit for beginners workshop, and these are all at parallax.com/category/events. And so here is the microbit for beginners workshop starting on, or well, it's a 2-hour workshop on January 29th, starting at 3 p.m. Then on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th, starting at 3 p.m. for 2 hours each of those days, we have a cybersecurity with Python in the microbit workshop. And then in March, on March 3rd, 5th, and 7th, we have a 3-session workshop for the Cyberbot and microbit, which is going to be updated to cover both the MakeCode and the Python versions of programming the Cyberbot to do a variety of things. And then the next Parallax EduChat will be up on March 11th. And then another one on May 27th. And that's it for now. We have one on-demand workshop, which is the Arduino BOE Shield bot. And then the subjects that we cover here during the late winter, early spring will be added on as at your own pace workshops. And we'll be essentially doing the same thing that I talked about you doing in terms of updating your slides and handouts. Well, yeah, that's what I'm doing here. And then we'll be releasing the at your own pace versions of getting started with the microbit, cybersecurity, and Cyberbot robot. And that covers the at your own pace workshops slide here. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching,
Yes, thank
And
you.
yeah, and from all of us at Parallax, we hope you have a great 2025.